Welcome to the homestead. So on this week's live stream, let me fix that a little bit. There we go. So on this week's live stream, we're going to be talking about Jacob. So we've been, I want to eventually discuss David and his mighty men. Hold on. David and his mighty men. And in order to discuss David and his mighty men, I decided we should back up and start with the patriarchs. So we've already done Abraham and Isaac. Now we're moving on to Jacob's story. Now, Jacob's story is a lot more, there's a lot of more detail we can get into, a lot of cool stuff going on. And we already covered some of that because Jacob is Isaac's son. So the stories overlap. So we're just going to go over the early part of his story this week. Next week we'll go over the middle part, and we'll probably do a third with the last part of his life. I think that's how it's gonna work out well. It may only be 2 parts instead of 3 parts. We'll see how it happens. So, like we discussed last time, when Rebekah was pregnant, she didn't feel good. She thought something was wrong. She prayed and asked God. God said, "There's 2 people warring, 2 nations warring in your womb." And then when she gave birth, Esau was born first. And as Esau's being born, Jacob's holding on to his heel and comes out with him. That's to symbolize the fact that Jacob is always after Esau. At least in the beginning of the story. He's right there after Esau. Even though Esau's the firstborn, Jacob wants that. And so we'll get into this more later, but Jacob's supposed to inherit the blessing that God gave to Abraham, and that's been passed on to Abraham's second oldest son. And now he's going to be the second oldest son and get that blessing too. But he's impatient and tries to do it his own way instead of doing it God's way. And so as they grow up, Esau becomes a great hunter. Jacob hangs out around camp. He's kind of a mama's boy. Esau is this tough, manly man. And that division between them caused a lot of family strife. And neither one of them tries to do the right thing and try to become better brothers and better family. And fortunately, that's the way it works a lot of times. We should strive to become better with our family, especially not just our immediate family, our wives and our children, but also our extended family. But sometimes we have people that are in our extended family that don't want to have a relationship with us. They don't want to have a good, strong, solid relationship with us. And all we can do is the best we can to welcome that person, reach out to that person, try to be loving towards them. But if they don't want it, we can't force it. So then Esau's out hunting one day. He comes home, and Jacob's sitting around eating some red lentil soup. I don't know why it's important that it's red. It also mentions that Esau is a hairy man and has red hair. And it mentions the red hair and the red soup together. And importance of that detail, but it's there for a reason. The Bible wouldn't, especially when paper was expensive and writing was difficult and copying was very expensive to do. That detail wouldn't have been put in there if it didn't have some sort of significance, even if I don't know what it is. And it's something that I'd like to learn more about, but it's not a big, so I haven't looked much into it. That's my problem, but there's only so much time in the day. So Esau comes in from hunting. He's like, "Man, brother, I'm hungry. Can I have some of your soup?" And Jacob's like, "Well, I'll sell you my soup for your inheritance." And Esau's like, "Well, if I die of starvation, what good's my inheritance going to do to me? Yeah, you can have my inheritance. You can have my blessing as the firstborn. Just give me a bowl of soup. So I've heard a lot of commentators talking about how Esau is impatient and he doesn't know how to. He's not going to starve to death right now. He's got time to go make some soup, make a sandwich, something like that. Eat some bread. He's not going to starve to death this minute. But he cares more about short-term gain than he cares about long-term gain. And that is an important lesson to learn from Esau. And he learns that lesson, we'll see later on. But Jacob, well, there's an important lesson to also learn from Jacob. He didn't need to do that to his brother. He could have been kind and gave his brother to eat. He wasn't going to starve to death either. He was taking advantage of the fact that not only was his brother hungry, but he was also taking advantage of the fact that he knew his brother lacked self-control and that he could use that and manipulate and get something from him. And Jacob's name does mean usurper, and we see pretty much the entire time that he goes by the name Jacob until God changes his name later on in the story that he's not a very good guy. He's kind of a con artist, scammy kind of guy. So he basically steals the inheritance. Yes, God wanted him to have the inheritance. God wanted him to have that blessing that was given to Abraham, the blessing that the Messiah would come from him. But he should have gone about it God's way instead of basically stealing from his brother. And we need to do to be better people, to not take advantage of others around us, to try to lift them up and try to help other people. Never take advantage of them. Sorry about that. I don't know what all that racket's about. So then later on in the story, we've covered this last week with Isaac. So Isaac's nearly blind. It's at the end of it, and looks like he's going to die soon. He calls his sons in. He calls Esau in, his favorite son, and says, "Go hunt me some food and bring it to me." Well, Jacob and his mom plot to come up with this way that so they cook a goat, and Esau or Jacob covers his arms with goat fur, and he pretends to be Esau. Now, even though this is his mom's idea, he's a grown man at this point. He should have been like, "Yo, dude," he should have been respectful to his mom and said, "Mom, this is wrong. I'm not going to do this. Shouldn't do this." But again, Jacob wants what he hasn't earned. Jacob wants what knows he's going to get from God, but he's not patient and doesn't do it God's way, and he doesn't earn that stuff. He just tries to get it an underhanded way. So he goes in, gets the inheritance, or he gets the blessings and all this stuff from his dad. While his dad's blind, he takes advantage of the fact that his dad to get the advantage. Now, shouldn't have been playing favorites between his kids, but Jacob also should have been doing the right thing here and not been taking advantage of his elderly blind dad in order to get what he wanted from and basically steal from his brother. Now Esau does come in later. Him and Isaac realize what Jacob did, and Esau does get a blessing, but not as good a blessing as Jacob got. So Esau's mad, rightfully. Jacob just screwed him over 2 times now, stole his inheritance, stole his blessing, stole everything from him as far as he's concerned. So he wants to kill Jacob so he can get all that stuff back. And Jacob runs away to go to his uncle's house. That's his mom's idea. He's listening to his mom again. But on the way there, Jacob he has nothing. He runs away with just the clothes on his back. Set a place called Bethel, and to spend the night. And all he's got is clothes on his back, so he takes a rock and uses it as a pillow. That's how destitute he is at this point. because of his actions. He didn't even bother trying to his brother. He just ran away instead of fessing up and I did what I did was wrong. I'll give you your inheritance and your blessing back. He didn't do any of that stuff. He just took what he had gotten from his brother and ran. And yes, he was running for his life. His brother was trying to kill him, but like I said, he didn't try to make amends. He didn't try to fix the problem. Uh, Esau didn't say him right away. He said I was going to wait. He was going to wait till Jacob died. So Jacob had time to try to make amends and appease his brother. He just chose not to. So he's at Bethel. He's falling asleep with a rock on his pillow, and he sees a vision of a ladder. Sometimes it's translated ladder. Sometimes it's a ladder to heaven. Sometimes it's translated as a stairway to heaven. I've heard it used or said that it was a vision of a ziggurat, which is like a stair-stepped pyramid that was used in the Middle East, the Mesopotamia at the time. I think there was a big squirrel ran by. Anyway, using Mesopotamia at the time to worship the gods. It was like an artificial mountain where they put a statue of the god on top to worship him. Whatever it was, Jacob sees this vision, and there's angels going to and from heaven. And while he sees this vision, God talks to him and says, I am with you and will watch over you wherever you go. So what's happening here is God saying, hey, I'm giving you the blessing. I'm passing the inheritance. I'm watching out after you. Bad things aren't going to happen to you. You will prosper, even though right now you're destined. So God, if you're willing to listen and try, God will have mercy. Or in Jacob's case, sometimes God just chooses to have mercy on us when we don't deserve it. A lot of times God chooses to have mercy on us when we don't deserve it and don't ask for it. So then Jacob has Jacob wakes up. That's when he names the place Bethel, which means the house of God. And so I think this is the first time Jacob's talked to God. And I think this is the start of a wake-up call for Jacob, where he's realizes that, like, hey, there is a God that I'm accountable for. And that's something we all need to realize too, is there's a God we're accountable to, and try to learn from the mistakes of people in the Bible, mistakes of people around us, and our own mistakes to try to become better people and try to follow more closely with God, try to become better, to have better faith, become a better disciple of Jesus, better part of our family, better husbands, better fathers, and better with fraternity, better for better with a member of the groups that we're a part of, whether that be church or any other groups we're a part of, work, preparedness groups, whatever. So we help lift them up, and they help lift us up, like iron sharpening iron, and we're a better part of those groups. And those are the three pillars for my mighty man lifestyle. So I'm trying to model all my growth on. I'm trying to make my growth in those three areas: friendship, or faith, family, and fraternity. And I'm calling that the mighty man lifestyle, naming it after David Men, trying to give myself something to point towards. And well, I'm flawed at it. I'm on a journey. I'm trying to learn these things. And I'm trying to encourage you guys, encourage an audience, and bring an audience alongside me, not as a leader, but as also a person that's aspiring to this kind of lifestyle, and to be better in those areas, better men, and yes, women too, even though most of the people that watch the channel are men, better men. And then we bring, and I want to do that. I'll show you how I'm growing in those areas and grow with you guys and back and forth, and also do preparedness and homesteading videos and topics and discussions with people. Like I've been working on redoing the garden, putting in raised bed gardens. That video's coming out as soon as I get it done. Hopefully in the next week or two. But anyway, so those are my goals here at this channel. And if you like those things, you know, the algorithm crap, like, subscribe. But if you want to get in a more detailed conversation, if you want to actually have a discussion with me and other people on this journey, even though there's not very many people there yet, check out my Telegram. It's t.me/prepare to prosper. And next week we're going to pick up with Jacob, and Jacob making it to his uncle Laban's house, and we'll see how Jacob, the usurper, who is a sniving, conniving little guy trying to get what he wants instead of doing what God wants. He's trying to do it his own way. We'll see how the tables get turned on him, and he gets treated the same way he's been treating his brother, and how he learns from that and grows from that. And we probably get to the point where he decides to journey back to make amends with his brother and the growth he's made, and we'll also start to see the growth that his brother's made. And the final part, Esau's growth complete, Jacob's growth complete, even though he still has some major problems. And we'll start to move on to Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Joseph. And Joseph and being in Egypt, all that stuff will then lead into him next. So if you like this kind of stuff, I just told you how to do all the subscribe stuff. Do that. That's all I got for today. Remember, we prepare today so we can prosper tomorrow.